Hey y'all, welcome to Adventures with Aggie, brought to you by the Ryan Martin Foundation. Today, we start our series featuring Goalball UK. First, we have Mark Winder. He's CEO of Goalball UK, and he's going to tell us about how he landed at the organization and give us a bit of background on goalball as a sport. Please welcome Mark. Mark, how are you doing today?
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Aggie. Nice to meet you, finally.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too. Thank you so much for coming on. First, can we just start with some background on who you are and what you do?
Yeah, my name's Mark Winder, and I'm the Chief Executive, or in some countries it's called Secretary General, of Goalball UK. So we're the governing body in the UK for the sport of goalball.
Awesome. I know what goalball is, but I don't think a lot of the people who listen to this show might know what goalball is. So could you explain just what is goalball?
Yeah, it's one of sport's best hidden secrets, to be honest. Before I got the job, I worked in rugby, which isn't enormous in the USA, but I worked in rugby and I hadn't heard of the sport, and I saw the job advertised and probably like you have, quickly went on YouTube and found out and figured out what it was and thought that, wow, this is an amazing sport. It's a Paralympic sport for people who are blind or partially sighted. It's a team sport made up of 6 people, but 3 on a court at any one time from each team. And it is a sport that was invented after World War II in Austria as a rehabilitation program. Then over a period of time, it developed until the 70s, when the sports were made consistent by different countries and then became a Paralympic sport. The sport is played over 18 metres, and the goals are the full width of the court, which is 9 metres, and there are 3 on the court at any one time, and the aim of the game is to score a goal, i.e. goal ball, past your opposition using a ball. The ball is audible, and the ball is about the size of a basketball, but it's 1.25 kilograms heavy, and it's got bells in it so that people can hear it because they're visually impaired. Everybody wears eye shades so that everyone is on an equal footing. And on the court, on the floor, lines, raised lines with string, with tape over them, so people can orientate themselves around the court. So that's in a nutshell. It's played indoors, obviously, and it's played in silence so that people can hear. It's one of the most exciting sports I've ever watched. And it's also one of the toughest, exciting, exhilarating sports I've ever played. And I've played many.
Play too. I feel like the second I saw the video, I was like, man, I want to try that. I don't know if I'll be any good, but I still want to try it.
Yeah, the American teams are really good.
Yeah.
You need to get in touch with them and have a go.
For sure. Cool. Well, I guess kind of backtracking here. How did you mentioned you worked in rugby and then you moved over to goalball. How was the transition for you? And I know like you use YouTube to learn the sport just like I have, but I guess what attracted you to Goalball UK?
Yeah, my career, I started off as a teacher, a PE teacher, sport teacher, and then became an advisory teacher doing a program in the UK called Playing for Success, which was a really cool project that put classrooms into professional sports stadiums. And there were 92 of these different centres all around of the UK. And I was in charge of, in the end of that part of my career, 6 of them in the city of Leeds. 1 linked to cricket, 1 linked to football, 2 linked to rugby, 3 linked to rugby, and we also had 1, believe it or not, linked within a shopping centre that provided out of school hours learning using sport or something else, i.e. shopping, as a motivation to help people learn and the heroes within the sport. That programme was very much linked to a quote that Nelson Mandela once said. And Nelson Mandela once said that sport has the power to change the world and influence the youth in a way that little else can. And that's very much been part of what my career was about, in the fact that I loved sport and I loved what it had done for me. And I saw that it could really engage young people, especially young people who were disengaged from learning. So that was where my career was. And then I ended up working in professional sports clubs, helping out younger people in their education, so young professional players. And then I saw this job advertised and I thought, wow, there's a sport here that actually does it. This sport actually transforms people's lives. And I ended up, here I am. How did I come through the transition? Really quite easily, because everyone within the sport wants to share the sport. So I made it my mission to travel the UK within the first 3 months or 100 days, speaking to people that were put in front of me, finding out about what the challenges were, finding out about what was working well. And as a result, I very quickly learned, and everyone was welcoming, and everybody shared the sport with me.
Definitely. I was reading that article that they wrote on you right when you got there, or maybe a few months after you had been at Goalball, and there was the video link that said Goalball transforming people's lives, and I was like, this is what I need to watch. And it's amazing to hear those stories of the people that are involved, because I mean, like I said, I've never heard of this sport before diving headfirst into this series here, but yeah, I mean, it is transforming people's lives, and it's crazy to me that I didn't know about this before, right? And I think
Yeah.
it's cool.
And I didn't either. And it is amazing the stories that it's got. So not just at the highest level, transforming people's lives at all levels. So very often people who are blind or partially sighted, living isolation, have very little self-confidence, don't really travel very far. And goalball for them has meant it's given them a purpose. So one of the chaps who's within the sport, he'd become almost self-isolating within his own house. Almost agoraphobic, and goalball has meant that he's traveling the country now. We invited him to a meeting we had in London, and he had the confidence in order to support goalball to travel across London and represent us. And he was doing that on the tube, or the subway as you would call it, at rush hour as well. And he was doing that, whereas before, 2 years ago, before finding the sport, he wouldn't have had the confidence. Then at the end, he told us, I'm traveling to Birmingham, which is for us quite a way. It's a 3-hour train ride for him. And he was doing that the next day. And all of that was because of goalball and because what he feels it's given to him, but he's given back so much to the sport as well. And the stories like that you'll hear over the next 4 weeks after mine, that I'm sure will blow your mind.
Definitely. That's so cool. I love that it grows confidence in things. I think that's something that sport does, but people don't say that's what it's doing, right? It just kind of happens.
You have to recognize that there isn't much sport for people who are blind or partially sighted, especially a team sport. So this actually gives that experience that you and I as sighted people can have. And it's a sport that's not a derivative or another model of another sport. It's a sport that is specifically designed for people who are blind or partially sighted. So it's perfect for them. All of the sounds come this way so that they can hear and they can use the tracking skills. It's a really well-designed sport. It's a simple sport, but it's really well designed and really exciting, as I've already said.
For sure. I have so many follow-ups for you now. I feel like I could talk about this all day, but I guess the first one here is how do people find goalball? Like you said, like some people that may be visually impaired or something, they don't know that they need sport, or they don't know that this is what they want to do until they find it. So how do these athletes kind of come together and work with you?
Within the UK, we've got our website and quite a strong social media presence. So we're always out there on a universal platform, supporting and sharing what we're doing. We also work with local authorities or councils to promote the sport. There is an umbrella organisation that sits called British Blind Sport, which is actually where we came from originally. And they put on what they call Have a Go Days. Them Have a Go Days gives opportunity for people to play lots of different sports. And then we often get referrals via that. In addition to that, we've got a children and young people's officer. That individual goes and works in school and works with play a sport alongside their peers. So we do that. So there's a real mix of how we would do it, depending on the ages and depending how people have become visually impaired.
Awesome. No, that's so cool to hear about the different levels and things, because that was something that I noticed on the website and social media, like what you're saying, is that it is all levels. Like there's goalball for any kind of person at any kind of age or anything, and any experience, really. Like people age could jump in.
So our domestic, we are introducing, one of our plans is to introduce a junior competition. That will happen hopefully within the next 24 months. It would have been sooner, but the pandemic's paused us a little bit. We have a novice section, and we have mixed gender within all of our competitions domestically. At Paralympic level, it's played the men's competition and the women's, but all ours are mixed. So we have a novice competition, and so that's a nice start to the game, or sometimes for the younger players, But in addition to that, people who are coming towards the end of their careers, they choose to play in the novice. We have an intermediate, which we like to say is probably the core of our sport and where the most of the people play, and where people who are developing on a pathway, that's where they aspire to become to initially. And then we have an elite competition, and that's ever increasing and ever growing. And that's where a lot of our Great Britain players play, and our emerging talent players. So the youth players who are representing Great Britain play as well. And we have in the past had people from overseas coming as well. So it's a real strong competition across the entire UK.
Definitely. I think now I guess I have some broader goalball questions for you. So you've spoken about all the different levels of goalball and how exciting it is, but how would you describe a goalball match to someone who's never seen it before? Like, what would you tell them to expect?
It's exhilarating. In some ways, there's a close parallel, although it's completely different, to tennis, in that when a game of tennis is on, everybody is quiet. And then in between points, people will make a noise and people will cheer. It's very much in terms of that as well. When we're talking about international, the men's game is very high paced. These guys throwing the ball at 40 to 50 miles an hour, often, unbelievable speeds, and also bouncing this ball. So that I mentioned that the ball was a basketball. It's not inflated. So it's like a light medicine ball, but they're bouncing it almost to 5 feet tall sometimes. So, which is really quite impressive. And you see the people playing the sport beforehand, and they may have canes to help them walk around. Some people will have guide dogs to help them walk around. And then they get onto the court, and it's like they can see in terms of they use the lines to help themselves, the way that they can track the ball. It's almost like you're watching the game and the people can see with their eyes. And it's just, you have to take a step back and remember that they can't. It's unfortunate that it doesn't get the amount of spectators that it probably truly deserves. And that's partly because it doesn't have a derivative, or it's not a derivative of another sport rather. But what you can see, the highest level is just amazing. But then you think about what is the sport like at the lower levels. And again, it's equally exciting to see somebody who's been inactive for all their life and they're now playing a sport, and the smiles on their faces is equally awe-inspiring.
Definitely. I can tell how much you like watching it from hearing you describe it.
Aggie, I feel as if I've got the best job in the UK, certainly within sport. So I feel very honoured. And I said it within my first 3 months at Goalball UK in 2017. Somebody once said to me, if you find a job you love, you don't go to work anymore. And that's certainly how I feel within my role at the moment. I feel very privileged to be working with a group of wonderful people.
That's awesome. You read my mind. My next question for you was, what's your favorite thing about being at Goalball UK? But I think you've already answered that one.
There are many things, and it's probably a cop out. But the executive team that I work with are wonderful. We've got a board of directors that I work with. I've got a meeting with them tomorrow. They're all volunteers. And they're wonderful. I've been involved in boards in the past, boards of directors, and they come with their own agendas and they want to improve their other substantive roles. Everybody on that board is very much around, we want to help Goalball get bigger and get better, as it's been coined by one of our members of staff. Everybody wants to do that. Then you look at the players, and they're wonderful as well. Some of the stories and the resilience that they have to get to where they are, and how they are inspiring to us. Then you look at the workforce that we have, or the volunteers that come along, referees aged from 15 all the way up to 70 years old, giving up their weekends to blow a whistle and make sure that the games can happen in a safe, fair way. And then the coaches that we have as well. So it's the whole thing, it's the whole package, and it would be really unfair to unpick and think that's one thing. But if there was a gun to my head and it was said, it would be the team that I work with, because they are all really, really committed in what we're doing and how we're trying to transform more lives of people who are blind and partially sighted.
I love it. That's so cool. I'm getting more excited about Goalball listening to you talk about it. But cool. I guess kind of last series of questions here for you, talking about Goalball's growth. How do you see it growing in the future, I guess, and what kinds of projects and things are you all working on? You already mentioned the youth league that you're working on, but what else is coming up?
So we've got a few different projects, and I'll probably get in trouble for forgetting one of them. We mentioned the children and young people that we're working on. They've been coming together during the lockdown remotely using Zoom, which has been really good. We're planning on their first meet in July, which is really exciting for us. Similar to that, we've got slightly older young people who've been doing very similar, and they're again meeting in end of July, August. So that's a group of people that are almost on the talent pathway, and we're teaching them to be goalball players. Because you and I may well have played sport from 6, 7 years old and come through a pathway within a community sport. Very often our people haven't. So therefore we have to equip them with the right skills. So we equip them with nutrition skills, strength and conditioning skills, also some sports psych in order to help to prepare for a game. So we try and replace all of that lost learning within the community sport. That's exciting. We're also, I mentioned that we're trying to introduce a junior league, a junior competition. We also want to introduce a women's only competition, because we're aware that some communities, the females within them communities might not want to come and play mixed gender. So therefore we're opening up that opportunity as well. That's really quite exciting. In addition to that, in September, we launch our new competition structure, which is a slight change in where we're going. Because the sport's growing, we're having to devolve some of the responsibility to clubs, which again is really quite cool. And then we've got, for the first time since 2012, government support for our Great Britain teams. That started in April. So we're actually planning now our qualification process towards Paris, with the hope of getting 2 teams to Paris. In a nutshell, that's what we're up to.
That's what I was going to say. Just all of these millions of things, and it's happening, right? It's going.
Yeah. And it's because we've got committed staff. So yeah. Dominic Cummins, a government advisor, said that yesterday that the government were donkeys leading lions, and sometimes I feel like a donkey leading lions, because the staff that I work with are so committed and so skilled. So, and I just bumble my way along, just talking a lot.
I love it. I love that comparison. I've never heard that before.
No, I hadn't either, but it resonated.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll be #1 fan of your women's team. I'm so excited about that. That sounds super fun. And I think that with the growth of women's sport, just kind of around the world, in the last year, we've seen a lot of growth. I think that'll be super cool to watch from across the sea.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Awesome. Let's see. Just last question for you. I end all of my shows on advice. So what is one piece of advice, or if you have more than one, I'll take it, I promise, that you would give to your younger self?
Take opportunities would be the one piece of advice. Take opportunities that spring up and really work at them. Don't just dip your finger and be really committed to what's there. That would be my advice. I had, within my sporting career, I had many opportunities of different things as you have as a young person. Probably meant I didn't commit as much as I could have done to them opportunities. And old me looks back at young me and would say, get your head down and take them opportunities, be really committed to them, and then you will get the most out of them and not have them regrets. And sometimes I do with them, because sometimes I would do things and turn up to them, but not always be as well prepared as I could have been. That's
great advice. I bet younger Mark would appreciate it. I love it.
You wouldn't have listened.
You know him better than I do. Awesome. Well, this was amazing. Thank you so much for giving me some of your time and telling us all about Goalball. This will be an awesome start to our series, and thank you so much.
Lovely, and I hope you enjoy speaking to the rest of our Goalball family.
Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show to give us more background on Goalball UK and sharing your story. Tune in on Thursday to hear from Naki Rizvi on his story in Goalball and how he serves as an ambassador for Goalball UK.